Good evening and welcome to MetroFocus. I'm Jenna Flanagan. New York's bail reform, fair or dangerous? Starting next year, people accused of a vast majority of crimes won't be seeing the inside of a jail cell. That's because the state's new budget will have virtually eliminated the cash bail system, which opponents say has unfairly penalized the poor and people of color. But if bail reform creates judicial equity, why have the district attorneys from across the state, including here in Brooklyn and Suffolk counties, sounded the alarm against it, bluntly calling the plan a, quote, dangerous mistake, end quote. Here with insight is Max Burns, the Director of Communications at Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Organization. Max, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So first, before we even get into the bail reform that's in the state budget, I want to go back a little bit and talk about a mass bailout project that your organization undertook. What was it and what was it supposed to illustrate?
So the mass bailout we undertook with a bunch of other local organizations is the largest single mass bailout of pretrial detainees anywhere in America, anywhere in history. We did 102 detainees. It took about $1.2 million, since a lot of those people were in jail on $100, $10, a few that were on $1 of bail. And we're proud to report that 95% of those showed up to court, went to their hearings, the sky didn't fall, the streets didn't run red with violence. Everything continued just as it is, which shows you just how broken the bail process really is.
Well, okay, so you say 95% of the people who were bailed out did attend and go to court for their cases. However, it seems to me that the problem that the district attorneys were raising the flag for is that 5% that didn't, that some of them suggested might be incredibly dangerous, that might be people who should be being held behind bars until their case is brought to trial. So what is your response to that?
Well, that is on a judge to decide. And that's in this legislation that just came out of Albany as well. They now, for the first time, have to show in the record evidentiary reasons to keep someone in jail. The problem with this is the people that were held on bail have not been convicted of any crime. They're innocent until proven guilty. So what we're saying is we're fine with people getting out if they can pay their own way, because people are bailed out every day. They're just wealthy people. But when someone else bails out lower income people who are more directly affected by being in jail, that's a problem, and suddenly that's a risk. And it shows you a lot of the race-based fear and a lot of the class-based fear that goes into bail.
Well, one of the things that some people who have been lucky enough to never have gotten entwined in the legal system this way wouldn't quite understand is, for a lot of those people who you bailed out, what were they in jail for?
70% of people waiting in jail on bail in New York are there for misdemeanor crimes. And these are things that are no longer going to wind you up in jail waiting to pay bail under this new law out of Albany. And that's huge. But this sort of creates and throws the problem into sharper contrast, because you cannot have a system where we say there's equal justice under law, but also if you pay, you can have better outcomes. Those are fundamentally incompatible ideas. So if we're going to say bail is unjust and unfair and does not help justice in 90% of cases, we should have the political courage to say it won't help in the other 10 either, and just get rid of cash bail completely, as Governor Cuomo promised, as Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights has been advocating, and as Americans deserve.
Well, if the cash bail system is to completely go away, like in theory it will be at least in 2020, what then becomes of, what's the incentive then to force people to make sure that they follow through with their obligation to go to court?
Well, as we find, surprisingly, it doesn't take a whole lot of force. When people's lives are on the line, it's not like missing a Soul Cycle class where you have to pay 20 bucks. They're losing their freedom. And we found with New Jersey, which removed cash bail, Maryland, DC, that they've provided things like electronic monitoring, home arrest, pretrial services for drug addiction, for alcoholism, to keep people in their homes with their families so they can go to work, they won't lose their job, their family won't lose their home, and we can stop compounding these problems that just create more crime.
And is there any indication of whether this will also help to lower the number of people who are in jail? Because As we've also heard, there's a lot of people who sit in jail for a very long time waiting for the court system to bring them up to trial.
Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights actually represented Pedro Hernandez, a teen from the Bronx, an honor student who was falsely accused of shooting someone, was held in Rikers for 11 months without trial because he would not plead guilty in a plea deal. And he maintained his innocence the entire time. As soon as he was let out, as soon as we secured his release, the charges were dropped because prosecutors understood that the only case they had against him was to keep him in a violent prison, to threaten him every day with larger sentences, with longer time. And as soon as they couldn't manipulate Pedro, like so many others, into plea agreements, the case vanished.
Well, what about the idea of all of this cash that's raised from the bail system? First of all, do we know where it was going, what it was being used for, when it was being collected? And with this theory budget hole, what becomes, something's going to have to fill it.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is to follow the money here and see that this is such a fraught topic because a lot of people make a lot of money. Bail bonds, fees for the city. But these are deceptive because New York City made about $2.5 million on bail fees last year. We spent $100 million keeping those people in jail pre-trial. It's about $200,000 per detainee. And nobody, Democrat, Republican, police officers, educators, liberal, conservative, would argue that we're better off spending $200,000 jailing a teenager rather than getting them some help and getting them in school. The cost savings from just not incarcerating so many people will more than make up for the money that's, quite frankly, going into private hands anyway. It's not money making it back to the state. It's enriching bail bondsmen, it's enriching middlemen, and people to keep this system going.
Well, one of the things I do want to circle back to is the rebuttal, if you will, that the DAs published in the Daily News.
In cases that have been outlined in the law and exist already, domestic violence, sex offenses, those people are remanded into custody. It's not like we're just catching and releasing people that have murdered people or that where bail can be legally argued. The only difference here is now the judges have to actually show a legal reason.
All right. Well, listen, Max, thank you definitely for your work for the mass bailout, because that sounds like it was incredibly important and illustrated a huge problem with our judicial system, but also we'll be following the story to see how it develops. So thank you.
Thank you.